down the biggest problem you're being challenged with at this moment. Your personal problem, it could be your business problem, whatever it is. But I've got 8 minutes left to show you how easy it's going to be to solve that problem. So send me your worst stuff. Inspired, any problem, doesn't matter how big it is easy. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is the lack of inspiration. If I could convince you that you would never die if you built one of these things, we'd get it done. Now, I don't know how you can convince anybody that if you build one of these things, but somehow the guy who came up with this idea thought that that was true and was able to convince a few million people that if we build this thing, you'd never die. Now that's absolutely amazing that you can do that. Not only that you never die, right, but that you convince people of such a thing. The power of inspiration has no regard for the reality of what it is you're trying to do. Obviously, I imagine the people who built this actually did die, though we don't have a lot of records of them, so maybe they're at 7-Eleven, I have no idea. But apparently died, so they got that one wrong. But nevertheless, the idea of inspiration is incredible. And I'm going to show you something that is mind-boggling, inspiring, that's just going to blow your socks off, unless you're not wearing socks. Okay. So I want you to take your workbook here. Everyone's got one in front of them. And it's going to take a little bit of partnership here. And I want you to turn to the person next to you and point to one word on this page and ask them to read it. How did you guys do that? I mean, there is approximately 70 billion people that have lived on this planet. Out of those 70 billion people, less than 1% of them were ever able to read and write. So you guys are like the cream of the cream of the cream. Very, very few people in human history were ever able to read and write. Not only have you achieved something absolutely remarkable to be able to read, but the gap that you crossed from being illiterate to being literate is such a grand gap, is so vast, that you are unlikely to achieve anything of that great the rest of your life. I mean, it would be wonderful if you could, let me know. But that is just mind-boggling how you did it. How was that possible? And I get the advantage of seeing your faces, and you're all looking at me like, we paid money to come hear this guy. I think it's funny. You all look at me like, what's the big deal? Do you understand? That's how you were able to do it. Because it was no big deal. If we were living, let's say, in Europe or Africa or India or China 500 years ago, nearly all of us, if not all of us, would be totally illiterate. And if you met somebody who could read, who could write, you'd be talking to them like, my goodness, how did you achieve such a thing? Anything that you wrote down on that piece of paper, your biggest problem, pales to insignificance of your ability to read and write. The only thing stopping you from achieving that goal that you wrote down of solving that problem is because you think it's a big deal. If you view everything just like that, how easy it is. We make things difficult as an excuse to give up. So I know I gave you one thing that you did in your life that's absolutely mind-boggling. I'm going to give you another thing that you've done in your life that makes that, reading or writing, like that pale to insignificance, okay? So I know I was challenging before. I asked you to read a word. I want you to do something else for me. I want you to hold up your finger. Okay? It seems like you can do that one. Okay, good, we're good, okay? Now, okay, this is challenging because I know this is a big jump, okay? I want you to take that finger. You don't have to close your eyes or anything. I will make it more difficult than it really is. And I want you to touch your nose. Oh my goodness. This is absolutely incredible. You did it. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Do you know how you did that? You will not find a guy or woman in the planet, a scientist, who can explain it to you. We don't know. They spend millions and millions of dollars trying to build robots that could do it, and they can do it. But they can't explain how you did it. You have no idea how you just did that. I want my finger to touch my nose. I understand you want your finger to touch your nose. You want the pen to touch the nose. This is not Star Wars now, right? You want the pen. It's not going to do anything. You want this inanimate object to touch your nose. And guess what? It's mind-boggling. It just does it. I don't know how I do it. You can do things that you have no idea how they get done. That is absolutely mind-boggling. When you view all of the things that you want to do as easier than that, you can do anything. In 1954, Roger Bannister became the first person in 100 years of recorded running to run the 4-minute mile. Within 6 weeks, people were running faster than him. Why couldn't they do it before? Because they thought it was impossible. I met people who did the 4-minute mile in high school because they thought it was possible. When you think it's difficult, when you think it's impossible, you can't do it. When you think it's as easy as reading and writing, as touching your nose, everything becomes available to you. So when you're facing that challenge in your life, whatever it happens to be, just pick out your finger and touch your nose. And it'll remind you everything is available to you. Thank you.